Alright, the Neon Dynasty Set Championship has begun, and this is a walkthrough of all my matches, starting here with round 1. I'm playing the white weenie deck in in Alchemy, and I'm up against a familiar face. Some of you might even recognize this list. I certainly did. This is the exact 75 I played to win the qualifier weekend about 2 weeks before this tournament took place. So as I expected, like some people would just straight up copy that list and run with it if they maybe didn't have too much time to prepare. And luckily, I'm playing the white aggro deck, which is just incredibly good at dismantling runes. You get to to see firsthand why I chose to play the white deck. I expected 40% runes in the tournament, ended up being only 18%, so definitely got burned a bit by that. But at least we start off here with a good note. And hopefully I win. Even though the matchup is maybe 80%, which I might not exaggerate when I say that. I think at least in the data it was 73% for white versus runes. That's quite lopsided. And other people playing the white deck might not have had as good list as we had. So, but even then, you can still lose, definitely. You have to keep your head in the game and still have to play tight and so on. So that is where I'm at coming into this match. Not much to say about it. I'm just looking for, especially if I'm on the draw, I'm gonna look for Portable Holes, Thalia, and Archon. These are really important cards for messing with the game plan. Stuff like Skyclave Apparition and Spellbinder. Even though they can interact with the opponent, they can be a bit too slow on the draw. So that's where I'm really looking to mulligan aggressively, sort of just lose randomly to things. You can also on the play you have a much more free range of hands that are good to keep, including stuff like Hopeful Initiate plus the Luminarch Aspirant, where the Aspirant can keep putting counters on things, so that Hopeful Initiate can just destroy stuff every turn. That can be a very good interaction. Anyway, I'm up against Futoshi Iwata. And this is the match. We're starting out here with a mulligan decision, and I need to go to my settings here and put this at a faster speed. Alright, so we have a pretty bad. We lose the die roll first of all, which is fine. As I said, I just need to mulligan more aggressively, and the aggressive mulliganing is pretty easy here because I have 5 lands, so that's definitely a mulligan. Here I do have a Portable Hole. That is one of the important cards I named. It's really important to remove stuff like Generous Visitor and Jukai Naturalist. Otherwise, even though you have maybe some of your other interaction cards, they can just overrun you anyway. Portable Hole, importantly, also, especially in the post-board game, doesn't actually matter for game 1 here. It hits Circle of Confinement, so you can get back your Archon. So it essentially serves as a protection spell for your Archon, if you will. Archon of Emeria that crucially says that the opponent cannot play more than one spell a turn, and they're trying to play a bunch of runes on the same turn and trigger all these counter stuff, and it's just that's what I'm trying to shut down. I had to put back a card here, and my curve is pretty good, right? I have 1, 2, and 3 drop, and the removal spell here and 3 lands. So I have to put back something here, and I end up deciding to put back the Evangel, which Evangel is not at its greatest in this matchup, which also leaves me without a 2-drop potentially, but I'm likely going to play Portable Hole on turn 2 anyway, so it might not matter that I don't have a thing to play turn 2. Honestly, I'm a bit unsure if that's actually the correct line, because Spellbinder is not that good on the draw anyway, and I have more other 3-drops in my deck that I probably would end up playing over this turn 3 anyway. So I think there's a chance that I actually am supposed to keep the Evangel, because if my opponent has a slow hand that doesn't actually play anything the first 2 turns, you sometimes keep that with runes, where you just keep a Rune Force champion. It would be really nice to go 1-drop into 2-drop, and maybe later in the game, maybe I draw a few lands. Having the Evangel at the ready could also matter. So I actually think I should put back the Spellbinder here, but that is what it is. Opponent starting with Forsaken Crossroads. I actually ended up cutting Forsaken Crossroads from my runes deck in testing hand. Ever since then, whenever I play with the card in runes, I've been so angry at how often it's annoying that it comes to play test. Okay, opponent plays Alchemy of Transience. That's one of the cards that I don't need to remove immediately, especially since yeah, it's gonna get some counters, maybe it's gonna get some auras, but then you just Portable Hold it afterwards. So in this spot right here, like, normally I would still be, if I had no other play, I would be totally fine to just portable hold Akami. But since I actually have a Luminarch Aspirant, and as I mentioned in the intro, Initiate into Aspirant is a pretty nice way of like making sure you can kill a bunch of auras, or kill a bunch of enchantments. I actually prefer to play the Aspirant here. There's a chance that I can maybe double spell with a portable hold later, like let's say I draw Thalia next turn, for instance. And yeah, you don't need to remove the Kami immediately. You can take a hit and then remove it later. So, and usually it's better once they have like spent some counters. Sadly, Luminarch Aspirant is nerfed in Alchemy, so I don't get to like actually get in for damage with my Initiate immediately. But I do get to put a counter to the Aspirant instead, and like try and get that training going. If you can like get the training going every turn, as well as the counter from Aspirant every turn, that is just perfect. So opponent, all right, kind of going off here, making a 4/4 Kami. Normally I would really like to remove the Naturalist, but since they devoted another counter to the Kami, I might need to kill that. Oh, and okay, I drew an Archon. That is kind of perfect. So that's actually really lucky. Like Archon is the card that's gonna shut down the Runes deck. And like what I'm really scared of here is that my opponent next turn is just gonna like play a bunch of 1-mana runes, draw a bunch of cards. They're playing my version, which had 12 runes, so it's very easy for them to just chain the runes and get counters from Visitor. Even if I had to like spend my turn portable hole on the Kami here, they could still like make a lot of trouble with the current board. But now with Archon, that's just not happening. So yeah, huge relief to have that card. I do need to think about if I want to attack though. Because, yeah, the opponent can get to block, but they might not do it, because like usually their Naturalist is more important than my Aspirant anyway, and getting a counter on his Initiate can matter a lot. So, in the end, I decide that I'm gonna attack before I'm playing my spell, because then I leave out the Eiganjo bluff. This list is running 3 Eiganjos. It's been like very crucial in creature matchups. And it also means that like when you run 3 copies of it, your opponent like pretty frequently has to play around it, so you can just make some very liberal attacks. So I'm going to get in here, get my counter. Opponent's probably not gonna block, if I had to guess. Yeah, I just take the damage. And now I just get to slam Archon and put a counter. I think it goes on my Aspirant here. It would be better on the Archon because like it's a flying body. It's more likely to be able to attack next turn with the Initiate. But they have like touch of the Spirit Realm, and that's like one of their outs to Archon. They have 2 copies of that card in the deck. So I really don't want to like enable that they get rid of both my Archon and my counter, so I don't really have a good counter attack. So right now I'm just praying that there's no touch to Spirit Realm, and that they don't get to go off after that. This do still present like a pretty intimidating board. They still have stuff like Eiganjo, like 1 copy of Eiganjo in their own deck. So I have to be careful of that. One important interaction here, though, is that Archon also makes all their lands meant to play tapped, unless it's Forsaken Crossroads, which you can actually untap under the Archon. Very annoying. So it also like really limits the opportunity sometimes in that way. And yeah, when you just like, the turn is only a single rune of Might, like it's just not that impressive. Like I take 8 damage here, which is definitely like threatening, but I do have this portable hole that's gonna help me a bit here. All right, so now this turn, I drew a second Eiganjo. For how much I've talked up like how good this card is, it definitely has a downside. We were very aware of that. I was running 26 lands as a result, if you count the Kapir Takedown in my deck. But yeah, I have 2 options here. I can play the I tap this Eiganjo, play the second one, and then play Inquisitor Captain right now, which is a bit of a gamble. It's really, really good if I hit a Skyclave Apparition or Brutal Cathar and just can take out this Kami. Because that's really what I need to do this turn. I need to get rid of this big trampling threat, so that my opponent doesn't like give it lifelink next turn and then like make sure to win the race. Or I can guarantee that I get rid of it with Portable Hole. However, if I do Portable Hole here, I can't also play a Spellbinder, because remember Archon works on both players, at least for the spells part. My lands still come into play untapped. So if I do Portable Hole, I can't double spell. However, I can actually like play Portable Hole, play my untapped Eiganjo afterwards, and then use my Initiate to kill the Naturalist, or maybe kill the Rune if I need to. Like I'll have some options there. And the second thing I need to decide on, which factors into this decision very much, is like, how do I attack as well? So I know my opponent doesn't have Touch the Spirit Realm in hand. They had like 2 chances of drawing it, 1 off the rune and 1 off the draw step, which could be scary, but I really need to limit the amount of time they get to draw it. Especially like if they get to play Showdown, for instance, like that's an entire turn wasted, but it could hit them to touch, and then next turn they're ready to go off. So, and then they really go off, because that's what Showdown does. So I really want to make sure that I can like put them on a clock. And here actually, they're 16 life, and if I attack for 8 damage. They can't really block. I can portable hold the Kami, and then I can use my Initiate to kill the Naturalist. And with the counter from Aspirant and the counter from Initiate's training next turn again, I actually attack for 8 again next turn. So I can set up this 2-turn clock where my opponent just like can't really, like, they're not gonna be able to gain life, really. They could have like the Rune of Sustenance that gives lifelink to the Visitor, and then attack with both, and then I can only like kill one of the lifelinking things. But yeah, it's pretty unlikely that they actually like, get to gain life. So like, if I make that play, I guarantee that I'm at least not taking very much damage. It's a little bit risky because like I'm not really spending my mana well. I don't guarantee that I can cast a Captain later. But it's a way that I get to do 2 things in a turn. And when you have Archon in play, getting to do 2 things in a turn is really impactful. And also, like, if I play Inquisitor Captain here, and I hit, like, you know, I could easily hit, like, Athalia and another Archon or whatever. Cards that, like, don't really do anything here. Because, like, yeah, making my opponent's spells cost more mana doesn't do anything. And then, like, if they can then get, like, this, you know, huge Kami with, like, lifelink maybe, and it's a Trampler. And I can actually, like, end up taking a lot of damage, which is kind of uncomfortable for me if I don't remove the Kami. And I think that's one of the ways I could lose. Because if I play Captain here and I brick, I might have to like play more defensively than I really would prefer in order to make sure I don't die, because it's like really embarrassing if you die with an Archon in play. So I'm gonna take this line that lets me interact twice. Sure, I mean I might not be able to cast Inquisitor Captain, but I think that's fine, because I think I have what I need to win in play right now. As I said, I can set up a 2-turn clock while removing 2 things from my opponent's board. And I think that matters enough that I'm just willing to go for that. So after that long explanation, this is like, I think the most important decision in the game here. I arrive at playing out the portable hole. And once again, I need to learn that to resume the video halfway through my explanation so that you guys don't have to watch me actually make the decision. But anyway, that's what I'll do. There's also like a choice to like, you know, how exactly do I sequence this, but I think it's pretty simple. You just attack first, and then you do your portable holding and so on afterwards. So you can really see me taking my time here, because as I said, this is like a pretty crucial moment in the turn, in the game. And like when you have these, just make sure like you take your time, right? You do not want to mess up. It's the first match of the tournament. It matters a lot if you win or lose. Like that really sets your mindset for the rest of the tournament. And also it's a good matchup, right? You know, I'm not supposed to lose this, so I have to make sure that I indeed do not lose this. I have to choose where the counter goes. It probably doesn't matter since I'm gonna remove it anyway. So I just put it on the Aspirant. Which, I don't know if that's a mistake, because they're less likely to have Touch the Spirit Realm now, but it is like one of the ways that they can come back in the game, is to Touch the Spirit Realm, so I decided to do that. If they have a Touch the Spirit Realm, what you can do is you just kill the touch with the, that's actually like another benefit of this line, is that if they top deck a Touch the Spirit Realm, I can actually kill it while they target, like with the targeting Archon on the stack. And I don't die to the damage here because it's only 6 damage per sending and I'm at 8. And they don't get to exile the Archon because the Touch the Spirit Realm is until it leaves the battlefield. So I can make sure that it gets to stay in play. That's another like big advantage of keeping up the initiate counters. Anyway, my opponent is kind of out of options, goes for Showdown, which is incredibly good for me. Because that means no more plays will be made this turn. And they're kind of in a pickle here. So I'm just like gonna let them attack now. And if they attack with both, I win the game. I just kill the Naturalist and attack for 8. If they attack with just the Visitor, I kill the Naturalist and attack for the win. So they have to, so they're actually forced to like only attack with Naturalist or attack with nothing. And I think attacking with Naturalist makes sense because that way I'm at least forced to do something. So I'm thinking, yeah, I should just blow this up. But then I realize, wait, hold on a second. This is a 4-4. If I blow up the Naturalist, I'll have a 3-3 and a 2-3. I can actually attack into this 4-4 next turn. Even though I am attacking for lethal, it's not really lethal because there's just like a pretty easy block here on the initiate. However, if I just take the damage and I just keep my 2 counters in play and don't use my mana, I can actually untap and attack with everything because I put the counter on Aspirin. Like now it actually lines up super well that I put the counter here. And then I'm attacking for 10, which is still gonna be lethal even though my opponent gains 2 life. And they have to block with Visitor. And if I can like get more stuff off that board, I think that benefits me more. Even though I have to completely like waste my turn here. So it's a pretty big decision whether to kill this Naturalist now or not. Because I can just take the damage, right? Attack, basically like kill the Visitor, like force that trade here, and then kill the Naturalist. So I can like clean up the board a lot, put them to 4 life. And that's like probably a pretty good spot for me to be in. And like they can only play like Alchemy and nothing else, right? And then I can attack again for 4. So like if we map out the game in like a few turns down the road, right? Actually looks pretty good for me here. I go to 6, they go to 10. I don't do anything with my mana. I attack, they block Visitor here, they take 6 damage. I pass again, presumably I don't draw a land. If I draw a land, I might just Captain instead. Yeah, and try and go for lethal, right? Because I can hit like Evangel or Skyclave to go for lethal. So if I hit, this is a lot better if I don't hit the land, because I can make sure that I actually attack for lethal. Sorry, it's better if I hit the land. And even if I don't hit the land, I then like kill the Naturalist on their turn. They just play Kami. I'm left with what would be a 2-3 Hopeful Initiate, and a 2-2 Archon, and they're at 4 life. And then like, yeah, they just have a 2-2 Kami, so I can attack with my 2-3 and my 2-3, and they're forced to jump block with the Kami again. So all in all, that leaves me like in pretty good spot, and if I ever draw the 4th land, I'm probably winning. So I realize here, I actually don't need to stick to my original plan, because the way the board works out, it's actually better for me not to kill the Naturalist, even though it feels really bad that I like basically like killed one of my lands for what seems like no reason. It actually still gave me a lot of value here because it gave me options, right? Like depending on what my opponent would do, I would have like the defensive aspect to it. And yeah, no shame in like not using your mana, because that's also like when you have make a play that gives you flexibility. Part of flexibility is the like ability to just do nothing. So I draw an Emperor, and sure, I can't cast that. That card doesn't really matter. The trade happens here as expected. Put them down to 4, and I pass again. And yeah, now I'm definitely killing the Naturalist. I don't need to do it early because like the cost reduction doesn't matter since there's an Archon in play. And again, I still want to make sure that I can kill a Touch the Spirit Realm. If they attack with Naturalist though, I will have to kill it, because I need him to be at 4 life so that they're forced to block with Alchemy this turn. Something I really don't want to see here is a Runeforge champion, because that means I can't actually attack with Kami. Alright, so they attack with Naturalist. I think I decide to kill it, right? And I hope I end up... maybe I shouldn't, because I can touch the Spirit Realm, but it's not that bad, right? Because touch will cost like 3 mana. Then we get rid of Archon, then you can play like Akami, and that's it. So like, that's not really that bad. Though I can't get rid of the touch the Spirit Realm, so maybe the turn after would be catastrophic. But I think I decided to do this. Clearly they don't have the touch. They didn't hit it off like the showdown. It's very unlikely they have it in hand here. And this way I make their plays very awkward, right? Especially given what I know. And they're not going to be able to use the showdown counters because the Archon kind of blocks that out right now. So the Kami's not going to grow to bigger than a 2-2. So as long as they don't have a Runeforge champion here, I'm pretty fine. Even if they do, it's not the end of the world. Because again, they can only cast 1 spell again next turn, so it's not even that scary. I draw Fleeting Spirit, which is, yeah, not that good. They actually did have Runeforge champion in hand, but decided to play the Kami, and that's really lucky for me, I think. But yeah, the hand kind of does nothing. The reason I immediately play this Spellbinder is because of Aiganjo. The land again, you can channel it to deal 4 damage to an attacker. And there would be kind of a blowout, right? If I just attack with both, and it is like, Aiganjo, kill my, to kill my Archon. And then like, they don't need to block the other 2 or 3, they can just take the damage, and then they untap and kill me, because now they can play multiple spells. So definitely playing the Spellbinder here for safety is really nice. And so they draw a card and concede. Alright, so got a bit dicey there. I wonder if it would have played out differently if they had a Runeforge champion. There were definitely times in that game where even though I had my Archon in play, it felt like I could still lose, which is usually the case when you're on the draw. But anyway, I'm gonna be sideboarding, yeah, like this, and I'm also gonna remove a. Right here, what do I remove at the end here? I think I'm up one extra sideboard card that I'm not gonna do. Oh, I end up cutting a Faceless Haven on the draw only. So this sideboard plan, this is like basically what we had in mind. I explained in the deck tech video that I explained in the deck tech video that against like control and runes, you want like a completely different set of 3-drops, and we kind of like engineered our deck to do this. So you can see in the sideboard here we have like, you know, basically all the cards that are like for the control matchup. So like these are the cards you want in our deck against control, and then like here in our main deck we have the other one. So we really like take a lot of like, you know, sideboard and main deck space to like, you know, make this happen. But in all the 75 cards, it works out. We can have a coherent deck against the decks we expected to be the most popular. We were very wrong, but we at least like have a plan against them. Also the mirror, but the mirror kind of wants a mix between these, so that's why it also works out with the numbers in the mirror. But anyway, we just want to have like really impactful cards. All cards are like kind of, you know, great against runes. Portable Hole, extremely important, especially on the draw, as I mentioned earlier. Kill Circle of Confinement, so you protect your Archons, and you can like stop their Naturalists so they don't get the jump on you. Because even though you have Archon in hand, they can just go like Naturalist into Runeforge Champion, and just kind of like make a big board already. Then you play your Archon, but you're already so far behind that you might still lose. So Portable Hole helps a lot with that. And like Thalia is obviously really good against them, having these like removal spells for when they do like against Archon, they try and like go in and make like one big guy, and you can just remove them so easily with these cards. The Emperor 2 helps a lot with that because there's no way to get Vigilance in that deck, so like every attacker they have is gonna tap at some point. We're not bringing Valor Stance. That might seem a bit odd because I'm talking about like this, you know, they might have big creatures. They don't necessarily have big creatures. The removal spells are all exiled, so like the indestructible part doesn't really matter. And sometimes the way they win is by like, you know, making like a few kind of big things that aren't, instead of like one big guy necessarily, because they try and play around like your Skyclave apparitions. And it might not always work out to actually have the Valor Stance. Plus, like, you really want to have a Thalia in play, so that means Stance is like more expensive. And all in all, it just works out as a card that you actually don't really want to draw that often. You'd rather make sure you answer the cards early. Like for instance, when they play turn 2 Naturalist and you draw Valor Stance, that doesn't answer the Naturalist. It's not what you want. You want like Portable or Thalia, like that sort of thing, to kind of shut it down. But anyway, since I'm on a draw, I can cut a land, so I end up cutting a Faceless Haven. I'm not sure what I would cut on the play instead. Faceless Haven being the worst land in the deck, I think. For this matchup. Maybe it's not, I don't know. Like, you have enough white sources anyway, so like you can maybe cut something else. But that's at least where we're at here. And so we're going into the post-war games on the draw. My opponent is going to be bringing in Circle of Confinement and probably not much else. Maybe Portable Hole, potentially. I think that was in my list, right? Yeah, I think I played 2 Portable Holes. They could also be bringing in the Tamiyo's Protection to protect their Circles of Confinement from being blown up by Portable Hole. So that's kind of this, or like protect their big aura guy from his Skyclave apparition. I don't think that card is bad in this matchup, but it's not good against Thalia. Anyway, opening hand, perfect here. We have an Archon. That's really what we need. I mean, I also like really hope to have like a Portable Hole or a Thalia to like be able to do something earlier. But at least having like a curve into Archon is just not something you can mulligan. Very efficient hand here. And usually they slow down. And we do a Thalia. Okay, so now it's the like literal perfect hand. Hopefully initiate into Thalia, into Archon. Sadly can't like curve that into Wandering Emperor. But the opponent also has a really good start here with the Naturalist. I did try and design my mana base to like have more untap land so that this would happen more often. And as a result, I'm getting punished a bit here, right? Because maybe like other lists would have had a tap land and couldn't do like Visitor into Naturalist as often. But such is the price for building the stock version of a deck. Anyway, they go in here with the rune. So Thalia like neatly cancels out the Yukon Naturalist ability. And they can only play 1 rune here, so that's super nice. And they can't really attack either. They could attack with a Visitor, but then they allow an attack with both of these, and I get to put a counter on Initiate, so they don't really want that. The issue is that not attacking is pretty bad against Skyclave Apparition, but I actually don't really need to Skyclave right now, because I'm gonna play an Archon, make sure that they do not go off in any way or form. Like, just nothing bad is gonna happen here. And I'm kind of like gonna put them in this chokehold, and then later I can Skyclave away the Visitor once it grows even bigger. Like, maybe it's gonna get more counters, and like that's how I get rid of it. No, maybe I just Apparition right now. I guess it's not the worst play to just do that. But another thing Apparition does is that it can hit Circle of Confinement, so you can get back your Archon. And saving it for that as well can actually be pretty important. So I'm gonna elect to play the Archon here, which means I don't get to attack, but at least like I'm gonna make sure that they don't do any shenanigans now. Though it's very possible they didn't have that many spells to play anyway. Right now, since the Thalia really restricts them anyway. But at least like having the Archon, it kind of puts a double damper on things. So now to play Runeforge Champion, and yeah, Thalia also stops this combo from going off. Like, they're trying to make their auras cost 0 mana, but it doesn't work with the Thalia in play. Right, so we don't get to play Wandering Emperor here because Thalia makes it more expensive. That's a kind of a non-bow in the deck. There's also another non-bow in the deck, which is that Guardian of Angel doesn't work with Archon in play. I don't get to tap multiple things. So that's important to keep in mind before you yell at me in the comments for why didn't you play this here? That is... Archon locks out my Evangel. So that's why. But I did draw a second Archon. And honestly, having 2 Archons in play is kind of lights out. Because with just 1 Archon in play, it's a little bit scary. Because they could top deck a removal spell for it, kill it, and then play some spells. And they could actually like play a bunch of auras here. Because like they still cost just 1 mana with this setup. So if they have like Circle of Confinement for like 2 mana, kill Archon, and like play 3 runes. And like, you know, spread a bunch of counters. That could be a thing that happened here. That's a bit scary. But with 2 Archons in play, they can never do that. They have to, like, they remove 1 Archon, and then they can't play another spell for the turn. And then I just Skyclave Apparition, get back that Archon, and you just, like, stock again. So, yeah, 2 Archons is really where it's at. It's also, like, Flying Pressure, which is definitely nice. And since this Runeforge Champion, like, I don't really need to play the Skyclave right now, get rid of the Visitor, because I still can't attack. The Runeforge Champion is in the way. So... I'm just gonna think about casting Skyclave here, but hopefully decide not to. Hopefully you just play whoa, wait, what? Oh, I still get an attack in with Hopeful Initiate. Okay. I'm not sure this is correct, but at least this way I get to stop some counters. I think the safer play here would have been to play the second Archon. And let them put a counter somewhere, and then play the Skyclave Apparition. Or maybe I get to play the Wanderer and get to roll something up in combat, or, you know, whatever it might be. I think I'm generally more safe with the second Archon in play. The reason I do this is that I really want to load up my Initiate here. And try and get counters on it. So I can attack with both of these. If my opponent double blocks, I'm pretty happy. I just kill the Naturalist. And they don't have that lifelink going. Their auras are even more expensive. So, like, even if they have a Circle of Confinement, it's hard to play that plus a lot else, because the Circle of Confinement costs 3 mana with Thalia in play. So, and if they obviously like just block with the Runeforge Champion and don't trade off the Naturalist, then that's pretty nice as well. I got a counter on my Initiate. But the issue is that I don't have a 3-power thing in play, so I can't actually like, grow it anymore. And yeah, I think honestly, I'm just supposed to play the Archon there. Just safer. Don't care too much about the Initiate. It's gonna grow later, maybe. Or maybe like it won't matter, and that's okay. You have to accept that this is a card that's gonna swing a lot in quality. It's definitely gonna be very bad sometimes, and you just have to accept that, because yeah, you know, if you can't handle me at my 1-2, you just don't deserve me at my 3-4. So, all right. So the Runeforge Champion gets lifelink, and nothing else happens. There's the lair though. So in testing, we found out that the lair of the Hydra is like one of the ways that the runes deck can actually get out from under an Archon, because that can be pretty big eventually. You can only play 1 spell a turn, but the lair is a way for you to spend like a lot of your mana. So you can start putting like Runes of Might and lifelink runes on the lair. Alright, so here we see a showdown. Again, not super scary when I have Archons in play, because it's only 1 spell a turn, so it's not gonna matter that much. And I draw an Inquisitor Captain. Pretty great draw here. Didn't hit too well, I just hit an Adversary. Which, by the way, you saw me bring that card in. It's intended for the white weenie mirror, but it's also it was also like pretty decent in this matchup against runes. Just like having this like kind of like when the games get a bit scrappy, maybe there's a lot of removal spells. They're like trying to like make one guy big, and then you just like play an adversary, and like now that guy is not that big compared to like what you have anymore. And also the lifelink can definitely matter. Like sometimes the game gets racy, as we saw in game 1. So it does a lot of small things that I just think it's like worth having. But I think maybe that's the card I would caught when I was on the play. So anyway, we get to attack in the air here. And yeah, the Runeforge champion, like, you know, it's probably gonna get like a Rune of Might and get a counter, so it's gonna be a 4-5. Oh, that's so scary. A 4-5, can't beat that, huh? Except like I have like so much in play. Alright, the Dura Circle of Confinement. Good thing that we have 2 Archons in play. Because otherwise we would have been getting rolled here. And we draw a Portable Hole. So, that's excellent. Again, I can't Guardian Angel. I can like play 1 copy of it. So that's what I can do, right? I can tap down this champion, and I can attack with everything. But it's 12 damage, and they're at 14. So it doesn't work. Alright. Is there any other good line? I actually don't have any attacks other than just 2 from Archon if I don't play this Evangel. Again, they have a showdown going. So one way I can lose is that they play a second Circle of Confinement on this Archon and then go off. So I think I can probably like tap something down later and have that be good enough. So I think right now I'm just gonna Portable Hole, get back my Archon, and attack for 2. This also saves me against if they have Iganjo. So kill my Archon here. That's always something you have to be afraid of, right? Because they don't have many outs, but Iganjo is one of them. And if they have like, I think I need to like push the damage here because I need to make sure I close this game before anything bad happens. And I can allow myself to do that because I can just get back my other Archon anyway. Alright, so they have showdown. They're kind of locked out. They cannot in any way cast 2 spells here. And hopefully just tapping down the Runeforge champion is gonna enable enough here. So they're gonna give lifelink to their lair. Okay, that's gonna make it so that I probably can't. They can make like a 3/3 lair as a blocker. So even though I tap down the Runeforge champion, they actually like have a pretty decent block here. I draw a Kabir takedown. See, that's a lot more interesting because instead of just tapping down a Runeforge champion, I can just kill it and then tap down something later. Again, you know, it would be nice if I could tap down both if the Archons didn't log out my Evangel, but that's not the case here. And I definitely have enough here that I can just take out the Runeforge champion. And I can't attack with Thalia or Skyclave because they have this like 3/3 lifelink in the way, but I can attack with these and put them down to 2 life. And then the lair is just not going to be good enough to get them back into the game. I can just tap it down with Evangel next turn anyway. So, all in all, I think just like Kabir takedown on the Runeforge champion is kind of nice. It is not that great against Samuel's safekeeping, which is one of the reasons why I think that card is good, because it allows you to like kind of interact on their Archon. So if they have that, yeah, it's not the best, but it's not the worst. They clearly don't have it because they just say good games. And the Runeforge champion dies, and I attack with my 3 power creatures and my Archon here, and they just scoop. It's not lethal, but like they're probably not coming back from this anyway. They would have to like either go to 2 life or trade off their lair, which leaves them with nothing, and they're not trading for anything good. So yeah, that is how the runes matchup goes. I'm surprised this video ended up getting still half an hour long, huh? I guess I talk a lot, but this is definitely the reason why we chose to play the white aggro deck. 2-0 victory to start the day, feeling good, and yeah, just hoping to like keep rolling with the punches. I know the metagame isn't what we expected, but the white deck is powerful, and we can probably like, you know, find some wins at least against some of the other decks in the format. So stay tuned for that.